there's more to pizzas than the standard pepperoni and cheese or your run-of-the-mill vegetarian. And here I have assembled a wide assortment of different types of toppings I'll use today to make my pizzas. And I'm going to tell you to do the same thing. Always get creative, and you never know, combining things that you'd never think would work on a pizza sometimes make the best one ever. Enough said. Why don't we get started? The first pizza I'll begin with is a thin crust pizza. And I'm going to start off with an ingredient which is pretty standard when making pizzas. It's a tomato sauce. And you want to make sure that you've got enough of the tomato sauce all the way, but not over the edges of the pizza dough. Okay, next ingredient, what about sun-dried tomatoes? I'm taking the sun-dried tomatoes, and these have been stored in oil, and I'm just going to slice them into small or thin julienne strips. Nowadays, when you go to restaurants, you'll find that they often present the pizza with all of the ingredients arranged in a very lovely pattern, and I'll do the same today. And I'll put the sun-dried tomatoes and have them radiate from the center of the pizza out. I guess it looks like a sunburst. And actually, why don't we give this pizza a name now? We'll call it a Sicilian Sunburst, and I'll use ingredients that you may find on a traditional Italian pizza. I'll use a nice green olive, so I'll alternate and bring in some new color into our pizza. And the olives have been pitted already, so now in slicing them, I'm realizing that I've got a new shape on the next ingredient. It's circular with a hole in the center. Next, I'll include a meat ingredient, and I'm putting some thin sliced prosciutto. Prosciutto is a smoked Italian ham, and I'll put the prosciutto also in strips in a similar fashion to the sun-dried tomato, so radiating from the center. I like using the prosciutto because you can see I can also, without even having to pull out the cutting board, I can rip it into strips and place this on the pizza. If you don't wish to use a meat ingredient, leave it alone. It's a nice vegetarian pizza. So there we have that. I'll throw on now a grated mozzarella cheese. I love mozzarella cheese, but I don't like too much of it because when cooked it becomes very stringy. I don't want this to be excessively messy, so I'm just putting a light coating of the mozzarella over the ingredients. And because of such a light coating, it also allows the other ingredients to cook. Okay, hang on to your apron strings because I'm starting to get creative now. Let's go. Next, thin crust pizza. I'll begin with a topping of pesto. This is a Ligurian pesto. It's quite lovely, and it's also a wonderful color. So it's a dramatic difference from our red tomato sauce on the first pizza. Next ingredient will be chicken breast, and I sauteed these chicken breasts in a little bit of butter. I've allowed them to cool, and now I've sliced them, or almost julienne them, into strips. And I'm trying to gauge so that everyone gets at least one morsel of this tender chicken. A roasted bulb of garlic will yield a wonderful nutty flavor, and it's a perfect addition to this pizza. I roasted this bulb of garlic by trimming off the top. I put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and I've baked these bulbs of garlic in a 350-degree oven for about half an hour, sometimes 45 minutes, depending on the size of your bulb of garlic. The garlic is now very tender and squishy, and the wonderful thing about it is that in cooking, it loses its pungent flavor and, again, picks up a very nutty taste. Now, you might not think of blueberries on a pizza, but in my experimentation with pizzas, I have found these to be a wonderful and very sweet tasting ingredient. These blueberries will cook and will add a wonderful slight sweetness to this pizza. So you're going to have that basil flavor of the pesto, the nutty flavor of the garlic, and now a sweet flavor as I put on blueberries. Doesn't this look great? It's a welcome addition to our pizza. And finally, I'll add the cheese topping. This is a Swiss cheese, and you'll notice that I grated it in a little bit thicker pieces than the mozzarella. I don't want to cover too many of these wonderful ingredients, so I think fitting to a Picasso, and since I've added these blueberries, this will be my Blue Period pizza. Well, the first two are now in the oven, and I can continue by making the thicker crust pizza. Good luck, guys. Cook well. I begin with the tomato sauce again, but I'm more liberal in applying it. Because the dough is much thicker, you're not as worried about the dough not rising. It'll rise, believe me. I'm also going to use a pesto sauce. And now using the same spoon, I can spread the pesto evenly all over the pizza. Again, right to the edge of the crust with our sauce. Okay, how about some fresh ingredients? I'm going to do a vegetarian pizza this time for all of the vegetarians out there. And I'm using these ripe vine tomatoes. They're very juicy. And I simply begin by cutting off the cap. And now I'm slicing the tomato. And now that it's sliced, you're left with these kind of moon-shaped pieces. And I'm putting the tomatoes in an inverted pattern, so they kind of form a circle in the center of the pizza. And I've left one slice whole, right for the center for good measure. Roasted peppers are always a wonderful flavoring on a pizza. I've cut the peppers into long strips, and I'm going to nestle them right above these tomatoes. It's already starting to look extremely appetizing. Good stuff. Okay. Next ingredient is this wonderful rapini. Rapini is a member of the dandelion family. It's somewhat bitter in taste, but you can serve rapini either steamed with a little side dish of a lemon butter or something. I like to use it in this pizza. I'm simply cutting it into strips, and it looks like a salad in my hands, but I'm just going to sprinkle it evenly over the pizza. After I add a few more ingredients and then add some cheese, this will also make a very nice ingredient for our vegetarian pizza. These are Kalamata olives. They're from Greece, and they're large black olives which have been pitted. And I'm going to add them onto our pizza, similar to the green olives that I used in one of the previous masterpieces. Cheese selection, I'm back to mozzarella. I want a very light cheese on the top of this pizza. Again, sprinkling quite haphazardly. I'm just giving it a light dusting of the mozzarella. And I'm going to take my grater, and I'm going to grate a bit of Parmesan cheese on top. The Parmesan will brown slightly, but again, I think we're going to have a lovely flavor. It's difficult when you're cooking for vegetarians. I always check with my friends who are vegetarians and ask them exactly what they can and cannot eat. Some follow very strict diets. And with a final spin of my Lazy Susan, I call you the Garden Delight Pizza. There we go.
Almost anything will work as a pizza topping. How about shrimp and strawberries? Don't forget garden fresh herbs, a great finishing touch. And remember, thick crust pizzas need an extra 10 minutes or so to cook.
So here are 4 examples of my favorite pizzas. The Sicilian Sunburst, the Blue Period pizza, this gorgeous Gardener's Delight, and of course my shrimp and strawberry surprise. I sincerely hope I'm inspiring you to create your own pizza masterpieces.